Hey guys, welcome back, and I'm going to do this one next, the Unwanted. My dad had a bad temper. He often hit my mum and me. One day I knocked him out with a bottle to help mum. I thought he'd beat me up once he woke up, but I never expected that people from a mental hospital would show up at our door. These strangers were here to take me away. Mum was not at home. I could still hear the last word Dad ever said to me. Bastard. I was not ill. I was taken to hospital because I was a bad child. However, everyone here would insist I was not ill. Besides, a male nurse is here all strong as bears. They could lift me up from the ground with a single hand. There's no way I could escape from here. I was put in a very small room alone. There was a desk, a chair, and a simple bed. The sheets and blankets looked yellow and they were all covered in stains. The walls are very dirty too. Someone had written a lot of bad words in the corners. I would try and talk to the female nurses just to get through the day. Soon I realised as long as I kept saying nice things about them, they would tell me anything I wanted to know. I learned from them that the hospital was not too far away from home. I said the president of the hospital was a relative of someone important from the government. That was how the hospital received lots of government funding, but the president had pocketed most of it for himself. They also said the president was rarely here. The person who was really in charge was the vice president, Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee was an expert in his field, and he always looked out for employees. If it weren't for him, the hospital would have closed down a long time ago. It was a Tuesday. I've been here for 2 days, but I hadn't seen one doctor yet. If I could have Dr. Lee examine me, maybe he would know that I wasn't really ill and let me go home. Around dinner time, I was waiting for a tray to be put through the door when it opened. A tall, slim male nurse stood at the door, and he said he would take me to see the doctor. I'd never seen him before. He probably worked in another building. I followed him downstairs, across a garden, and into another building. We walked up to the 5th floor and stopped at the door of an office. The name of the door said Lee Yun-Chuk. I sat nervously on my medical stool. It was very dark inside and no lights were turned on. I could smell a faint scent in the room. So only 2 of us in the room. He asked for a few simple questions. To prove I was a good child, I answered all the questions honestly. He also told him Dad would beat Mum and me, and why I thought I'd been brought here. It was because Dad thought I was a bastard, a bad child. You're here because you have a condition called selective cognitive impairment. Dr. Lee took off his white coat and laid it on the back of his chair. Selective cognitive impairment? I'd never heard of it. I could barely say it. In other words, you have a tendency to fantasize about events. For instance, you said your father had choked your mother with a rope, but that never happened. That's not true. Dad must have lied to you. He beat me, even poured boiling water on me. I can show you. I took off my shirt and turned my back towards him. I showed him the burn scars that went from my neck all the way to my back. That's what Dad had given me when he doused me with boiling water. Dr. Lee raised his hand and touched the scars with his fingertips. His hand was so cold I took a deep breath. You're mistaken. It wasn't your father who did this to you. Your symptoms are quite severe. If you don't do something about it, it might very well turn into schizophrenia. I turned around and saw Dr. Lee untying his tie. That would be an even worse condition. People with a condition have been tied to their beds that can't go outside or not even a bathroom. Every day we need to go through electroconvulsive therapy. In more serious cases, we might even perform brain surgery on them. Perhaps I was too frightened. I felt my entire body getting warm, and my knees were becoming weak. Dr. Lee held me steady. Don't be afraid, kid. As long as you do everything I tell you, one day you'll fully recover. Dr. Lee put his hands on my back, pushed me against the desk and pulled down my pants. He pressed himself against me and forced my legs open. I didn't want to stay, but for some reason I couldn't feel any strength in my arms or legs. I didn't know what he was going to do for me. I was scared. Please, doctor, please let me go. I could only beg for him to let me go, and he just laughed. Let you go? That's not going to happen. Ha! You're here because of lots of money. Money? Oh, a horrible image. suddenly, an excruciating, splitting pain washed over my entire body. My brain stopped thinking. I couldn't hear anything he said afterwards. All I could hear was some deafening buzzing noises in my ears. Full-length mirrors hung on the wall to the right side of the room. I could see two pale bodies lit by the moonlight in my reflection. I raised my hand, hoping the smaller body in reflection would turn not to be me. The person who's in the mirror, whose face was crying and twisting in pain and despair, slowly raised his hand just as I did. No. No. No, 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 no! Excruciating pain shooting my back and forward my fear as I started to resist. I struggled to my arms around her, pushed the file away from the desk when I felt something. A gun. Dr. Lee was sweating heavily and he didn't notice what I was doing. I put my index finger on the trigger and raised the gun, shaking uncontrollably. I turned to my right. I pulled the trigger. The mirror suddenly shattered into pieces and scattered all over the floor. Dr. Lee was extremely shocked. He twisted a gun out of my hand and threw it onto the medical stool. The tall-slim nurse opened the door and peeked inside. For a moment he saw Dr. Lee shaking his head. He stepped back out again and closed the door. It was still just the two of us. Nothing had changed. Even though I smashed the mirror, it was reflected ours, some smithereens. Nothing had changed. I saw numerous blue eyes in the broken pieces of the mirror. All those eyes belonged to me. I was in the mirror. So who was the person who was outside the mirror? I couldn't seem to recognise him. This yellow-haired, powerless child. Who was he? Okay, this one got a bit dark, to say the least. I had finally seen a true marksman today. The custodian, who loved soap operas so much he could bawl his eye out, had rewarded Lieutenant Kang's crisis with just a toy gun. It was from such a distance. Forget about it being a toy gun, even a real gun would be incredibly hard to hit with temporary target. If I had gone on a mission by myself, everything would have been over by now. I hadn't even realised I could shoot a gun until I enrolled in a police academy. Every time I tried to aim, I just couldn't calm down and concentrate. No matter how hard I trained, I couldn't improve my shooting performance. The academy even sent me to a specialised psychologist, although we couldn't find anything wrong. Unsurprisingly, I got an O in my final shooting test. I became a laughingstock of a class. If it weren't for my outstanding grades and combat tests convincing the academy to make an exception for me, I'd probably still be wasting bullets in training. Guns must simply not agree with me. There could be no other explanation. The custodian had gone back to a police station. All we needed to do was wait for reinforcements from the station to clean up the mess. By the way, even though I wasn't good with them, I could still appreciate guns. I still thought it would be great if I could just have one with me at all time. I was playing with a gun and just picked it from the ground. It must have belonged to one of those losers. I was feeling a little drunk with power in my hand, and a stranger walked out of the shadows behind the cargo container. It was a huge muscular man in his 40s or 50s. He was wounded, but both a tattoo on his bald head and the scars on the corner of his eyes were telling me he would not be afraid of a fight. I held a gun steady and pointed at him, when Lieutenant Kang casually said, "Here's one of us." Lieutenant Kang was sitting on top of some passed-out lackey in a pink striped shirt. He was holding half a cigarette in his hand, and he just exhaled out a puff of murky white smoke. I was shocked. This person didn't look like a police officer at all. Well, I suppose they're all birds of a feather. Unit 4 must have plenty of weirdos like them. I lowered my gun, stood straight up, and gave him a salute. "Sir, I'm Chang Young-min. I was just assigned to Unit 4 a week ago. Pleasure to meet you." "Pleasure to meet you too." It wasn't a hawking officer who responded. It was Cho Yo-han, standing behind him with a gun pushed up against his head. "Did you all think it was fucking over?" He held his gun up the officer's temple while rubbing his own bruised head with the other hand. Crap. Had someone forgotten me and I'd been shot by a toy gun? How could I have made such an idiotic mistake again? Lieutenant Kang slowly stood up too. His cigarette was still burning, but he had no interest in smoking it again. "Ha! Now those are the kind of looks I like. Kid, raise your gun." I wasn't sure what kind of trick he was trying to play, but I involuntarily held on to it more firmly. "I've given you two choices. Your lieutenant or this meathead here. Make your pick. Put a bullet in his head, and then we're done. Don't play any tricks on me." What? I must have heard it wrong. I'd never been trained for this scenario back at the academy. Cho Yo-han chuckled. "Oh, also, I'm the kind of person who doesn't have too much patience, so I'll give you 5 seconds. How about that? Let's begin a countdown. 5. So he raised a gun. Well, my arm suddenly felt like they had been filled with lead. On my side, it's the senior officer with whom I've just met. On the other side is Lieutenant Kang. What kind of sick joke was this? I must calm down and think. There must be some other way. But I only had 5 seconds. 4. Lieutenant Kang was standing to my right. The cigarette in his hand had already burnt out. He was standing there completely motionless like a statue. Our eyes met in midair, but time kept flowing. My hands were shaking. 3. I pointed my gun at Cho Yo-han. I tried my best to aim for his forehead. Could I make the shot? 2. The officer looked at me calmly. He seemed to be telling me with his eyes, I trust you. But I couldn't trust myself. 1. A few drops of sweat were rolling down my face. No, I couldn't make it. I gave up. The officer's head exploded right in front of my eyes. With a gun barrel turned towards me, with a slim of smoke still creeping out of it, and Choy pulled the trigger. But it hit me and knocked me over. Kangbek, yeah. How does it feel watching your men die in front of you, huh? Ha ha ha. But my eyelids grow heavier and heavier. I couldn't see the expression of Lieutenant Kang's face. The voice of Choi mocking and taunting the lieutenant was getting further and further away too. A few weeks later, I woke up in the Busan Metropolitan Hospital. Tubes were coming out of every part of my body. The EKG machine was bleeping steadily next to me by our bed. Captain Gong told me when he visited me he was the only one to survivor from warehouse. How could this have happened? Someone please tell me this was just a dream. Please, buddy, we're good people. Please help them. Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. So, I got 3 phrases and 2 places to put them. Let's try this. You pull the trigger on him. And you deal with shaking hands. 3. I pointed my gun at Lieutenant Kang. Was there really no other way? 2. He saw me pointing a gun at him. He didn't look like he blamed me. He seemed to be telling me with his eyes, I trust you. I couldn't trust myself. 1. No, I couldn't make it. I gave up. This is going to be exactly the same thing again. So yeah, I need to shoot with him. An enormous loud noise, louder than anything I had ever heard, exploded from a gun. My entire arm felt numb after the shock, but I was still holding it in my hand. Then I felt something warm red dripping on my chest. Dr. Lee was still smiling, but there was a hole in the middle of his forehead. I pushed him away and sat back up. He fell on the floor with his face up. He had a hard on. All of a sudden there seemed to be a lot of people hanging out in the hallway outside. I could hear footsteps, conversations, even screams. Shut up. I came down in front of a desk and walked to a mirror with my ears covered. My body still looked pale in the moonlight, but now with some red stripes on it. It reminded me of the warriors I'd seen in the movies in Russia. Did people paint themselves with red stripes too? Should we get an A ending? You get a bad ending. Let's try. Yeah, exactly the same there. So you... need to pull the trigger. What's going to go on now? 3. I pointed a gun at Cho Yo-han. I tried my best to aim for his forehead. Could I make the shot? 2. The officer looked at me calmly. He seemed to be telling me with his eyes, I trust you. But I couldn't trust myself. 1. Huge drops of sweat were rolling down my face when I pulled the trigger. Well, it flew out of the barrel and hit the officer's head. Exploded right in front of my eyes. Ha! Aren't you a funny kid? Why'd you consider joining us? He mocked with his jokes and turned a gun to me. Still paralysed in shock. He pulled the trigger. If I killed him, I would be the murderer. Why would I be able to run if I became a murderer? Put the gun down. Tears of shame and pain streamed down my face. I decided I would survive this. When I swore to myself that I would find another chance. I swore. I didn't turn my head, I didn't close my eyes. I wanted to burn his evil face into my memory. Like a man who sold his women for money. What have you done to me? One day I will pay you back plus extra. So let's see what happens if I turn to my right and pull the trigger. That's the obvious choice. 3. When we got Lieutenant Kang. Your hand was not here to fall. I'd chosen Lieutenant in order to save the officer. As long as he didn't hit any critical spots, the Lieutenant would be okay. I could also stall for a bit longer. 2. He saw me pointing a gun at him. He didn't look like he blamed me. I could see what he understood it was my plan to stall. 1. He drops a sweat ball in my face when I pulled the trigger. Bullet flew out the barrel towards Lieutenant Kang and hit the man lying behind him. Black in the pink striped shirt grunted and everything was quiet again. As expected, my terrible shooting just made things worse. How dare you try to trick me! Let me show you the consequences! Your hand pulled the trigger with his finger. The officer's head exploded right in front of my eyes. The gun barrel turned towards me with smoke creeping out of it. Pulled the trigger again. The bullet hit me and knocked me over to the ground. Interesting, you still get a bad ending. What if... My hands are shaking. Let's see if that changes things up. I'm going to skip reading all this because you already heard me read about the countdown. My hands were shaking like never before. It reminded me of the only time I'd ever hit inside a target. It was a very windy day. I was wearing nothing but a tank top. So I'd been trembling because of a cold. Now I was shaking so hard. Maybe it'll be another miracle. 2. Lieutenant Kang saw me pointing a gun at him. Didn't look like he blamed me. 1. Hugh drops a sweat roll in my face while I pulled the trigger. But it flew out of the barrel and hit Lieutenant Kang in his left arm. I made it. I actually made the shot. However, Cho Han was obviously not satisfied with the result. Kid, are you really such a terrible shot? Or are you just trying to fool me? Guess I have to teach you a lesson. Moved his gun away from the officer's temple and pointed it at his back. Bang! Red hole appeared in his stomach. The officer's face turned pale, but he didn't even wince a little. Try not to worry us. What a man he was. Oh well. I'm also a pretty nice guy. How about I give you another chance? This time aim at the head. See? Right here. He pricked his gun at the officer's temple while laughing like a maniac. My anger was boiling inside of me. I couldn't listen to any more bullshit coming from the face of a bastard. But what could I do? I mean, how fast I could possibly move. I couldn't be faster than a bullet. A shadow leapt past me from behind while I was standing to think. A splash of blood spilled to the floor inside my shadow was cast by the dim lights. A gun was sticking out of Choyo Han's mouth. No, it was barely a mouth anymore. Choyo's body was falling to the ground at the same speed as my vomit. Lieutenant Kang took the gun out of Choyo's hand. There was no warmth in his eyes. He looked like someone else completely. The will to kill was radiating from them. The will to kill every single living thing in sight, even those who had already been incapacitated. A minute later, those who had passed out in a warehouse would never wake up again. The officer was lying next to Choyo Han's body, still bleeding. I couldn't tell if he was still breathing. His eyes then turned to the only remaining person alive in the warehouse. He looked into my eyes. Then he raised his gun. That's an S ending? Interesting. Yeah, I got all 3 endings there. That's a very interesting result. Oh, what's wrong with this pen? It's not working again. Oh, great timing. It's so annoying. Willie gave me this pen. Although it looks like a pen, it's not for writing. I need to use it to slice up the letters and which will then split into pieces. You can rearrange the pieces before pressing a button on the pen, which makes the pieces reattach themselves into an intact letter. Afterwards, the events of a new human's life will happen according to a new arrangement. You can even read about the aftermath in the letter. However, recently the pen has started to act strangely. I'm hungry. Huh? It's time for afternoon tea. That's strange. Willie's normally bought me snacks by now. Willie? Where are you? So dark. Where has he gone? What on earth are you doing here? Turn around. Don't look. As if I wanted to. Ow. Why is it so dark here? Is the light bulb out? Yeah, it has been for a long time. Why don't you have it fixed? Wait. Why can't we fix it ourselves? Aren't we gods? We should be able to fix the light bulb with a simple wave of a hand. Who told you that? Even gods have limitations. We can't get whatever we want. You should have learned to appreciate what we do have. Are you saying we need to buy things too, like humans? Well, we are not entirely like humans in that regard. We don't have to pay or rent mortgage to live here, but not everything is free. We don't need money, but we need faith from humans. I mean, more people go to temple or church to pray for us, even worship us, the better our lives will become. Yes, more or less. However, we are not like most gods in a normal sense. For example, in a place like this with extreme drought of people, we often pray for rain, right? Normal gods will just give it rain if faithful were deemed worthy enough. This way, we humans would know their wishes have been granted. But if we were to grant all their wishes, it would mean the drought had never happened in the first place. Therefore, the humans would never realise their wishes were being granted. Because there had never been a drought, therefore they would never been asked to pray. I see. You're saying that all these people have asked for help and never realised they've done so? Does that even mean we're going to starve to death? That's not going to happen. We might be living in poverty and we might be suffering. It's hard being a god. Well, don't think about it too much. Anyway, were you looking for me? Oh right, I almost forgot. The pen hasn't been working well recently. Is it broken? It's too dark in here. I can barely see. Let's go upstairs to your room. Isn't there a room right here? Speaking of which, did you just come out of there? Is this your room? Yes, it is. Well, let's... No. I haven't even asked yet. The more he does not want me inside, the more curious I get. Is he hiding something unspeakable? But I twisted my ankle when I fell down, and I really don't want to climb the stairs. No problem. Huh? How do we get upstairs to my room? Because I'm a god. That's awesome. You know how to teleport? Can you do that too? Perhaps. Let me take a good look at that pen. Well, it might not be getting too old to work properly. Just try again later. Should be fine. Anyway, I'll leave you a bit. I'll go prepare some snacks for you. Just lie down and rest your ankle. Teleportation. Humna, humna, humna. I want to teleport. Oh, that didn't work. How can I do that? That's an amusing diversion. Until next time, thanks for watching, guys. Have a wonderful day. Next time I'm going to do... probably this one, actually, because it's the next one chronologically. The Taste of the Early Summer. Until then, guys, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.